Hello, this is Palak Mishra from AD Semester 6, and I'm going to be talking about French architecture as an assignment given by a French general elective mentor, Mr. Amitabh Kumar. Paris, also known as the City of Lights, is well known in the world for its monuments, museums, and buildings. It was the birthplace of the Gothic style and has important monuments of the French Renaissance and the Classical Revival, also of the flamboyant style of the reign of the Napoleon III, the Belle Epoque, and the Art Nouveau style. So essentially, I'm going to be talking about the history of the French architecture, which goes long back. So let's get started. Starting from the Gallo-Roman period, the architect of ancient Rome at first adopted the external Greek architecture, and by the late Republic, the architectural style develops its own highly distinctive style by introducing the previously little used arches, walls, and domes. A crucial factor in this development, coined the Roman architectural revolution, was the invention of concrete. Social elements such as the wealth and high population densities in cities forced the Romans to discover new solutions of their own. The use of walls and arches, together with the sound of knowledge of building materials, for example, enabled them to achieve unprecedented successes in the construction of imposing structures for public area. Some notable examples in France during the Gallo period was the Aliscamps in Arles and Maison Carré in Nimes. Moving on, we have the pre-Romanesque period, where the unification of the Frankish kingdom under Clovis the number one and his successors corresponded with the need of building the churches, and especially monastery churches, as they were now the powerhouses of the Merovingian church. Also, a number of other buildings now lost, including the Merovingian foundations on Saint Denis, Saint Girion in Cologne, and the Abbey of Saint Germain d'Auprès in Paris, are described as similarly ornate. Talking about the Romanesque period, the architecture of a Romanesque style developed simultaneously many parts of France in the 10th century and prior to the later influence of the Abbey of Cluny. The style, sometimes called the First Romanesque or Lombard Romanesque, is characterized by thick walls, lack of sculpture, and the presence of rhythmic ornamental arches known as the Lombard band. The Saint Etienne, located in Caen, presents one of the best Romanesque facades of northern France, with three portals leading into the nave and aisles and a simple arrangement of identical windows between the buttresses of tall towers. The medieval period. French Gothic architecture is a style of architecture prevalent in France from 1140 until about 1500, which largely divided into four styles: early Gothic, High Gothic, Rayonnant, late Gothic, or the flamboyant style. The early Gothic style began in 1140 and was characterized by the adoption of the pointed arch and transition from late Romanesque architecture. To heighten the wall, builders divided into four tiers: arcade, gallery, triforium, and clerestory. Some famous structures of the style included the east end of Abbey Church on Denis, Saint's Cathedral, Notre Dame of Laon, the west facade of Chartres Cathedral, Notre Dame de Paris, Lyon Cathedral, and the Toul Cathedral. Renaissance. During the early years of the 16th century, the French were involved in wars in the northern Italy, bringing back to France not just the Renaissance art treasures as their war booty, but also stylistic ideas. In the Loire Valley, a wave of building was carried, and many Renaissance chateaux appeared at this time, the earliest example being the Chateau d'Amboise, in which the Leonardo da Vinci spent his last years. The style became dominant under many architects like the Philippe Delmore, Guillaume Vignola, and Perry Lescot were inspired by new ideas. The southwest interior facade of the Cour Carré of the Louvre in France was designed by the Lescot and covered with exterior carvings by Jean Goujon. Architecture continued to thrive in the regions of Henry II and Henry III. French Baroque is a form of Baroque architecture that evolved in France during the reigns of Louis XIII, Louis XIV, and Louis XV. French Baroque profoundly influenced 18th century secular architecture throughout Europe. Although the open three-wing layout of the palace was established in France as the canonical solution as early as the 16th century, it was the Palais du Luxembourg by Solomon de Brosse that determined the sober and classicizing direction that French Baroque architecture was about to take. The Rococo period. Rococo developed first in the decorative arts and interior design. Louis XIV's succession brought a change in the court artists and general artistic fashion. By the end of the Old King's reign, rich Baroque designs were giving way to lighter elements with more curves and natural patterns. These elements are obvious in the architectural designs of the Nicolas Pineau. During the Renaissance, court life moved away from Versailles and this artistic change became well established, first in the royal palace and then throughout the French high society. The delicacy and the playfulness of the Rococo designs is often seen as perfectly in tune with the excesses of Louis XV's regime. Neoclassicism. The first phase of neoclassicism in France is expressed in the Louis XVI style of architects like Agnes Jacques-Gabriel, and the second phase in the styles called Directeur and the Empire might be characterized by Jean-Charles Xavier Style, Arc de Triomphe. In England, the two phases might be characterized first by the structures of Robert Adam, the second by those of Sir John Soane. The interior style in France was initially a Parisian style. Only when the young king acceded to the throne in 1771 did Marie Antoinette, his fashion-loving queen, bring the Louis XVI style to court. Nowadays, you find the design's inspiration running through the city's Roman, medieval, Renaissance, Baroque, Classical, Rococo, Neoclassical, Empire, Art Nouveau, Art Deco, Modern, Postmodern, and Contemporary architectures. Talking about some very unique modern and contemporary architectures, the Louis Vuitton Foundation, which was inaugurated in 2014, organizes major exhibitions in the extraordinary building designed by the visionary architect Frank Gehry. Also, the Philharmonie by Atelier Jean Nouvel is located in the Parc de la Villette at the northeastern edge of Paris in the 19th around the cement. Aluminium panels swirl tightly around the structure and contrast with the rest of the matte exterior. Also, the exterior features the images of 340,000 birds etched into the surface in 7 different shapes and 4 different shades ranging from light grey to black to symbolize a grand takeoff. We have the Grand Louvre, which is the world's largest museum and houses one of the most impressive art collections in history. The magnificent Baroque style palace in the museum, Le Musée du Louvre in French, sits along the bank of the Seine River in Paris. Concluding this video, I would like to say that there were two people who were solely responsible for making Paris what it is today, and that is Emperor Napoleon III and Baron George Eugene Haussmann. But a lot of great architects and architectural firms played their role during their times. Thank you.